All right, y'all. Here today to talk a little bit more about manager coaching skills. So imagine it's Nirvana and you have some competencies to work from. Let's take a neutral care category like vendor management. Within any competency, you might have some sub competencies that would fold up underneath that. For vendor management, it might be about using the system that you have within your organization, complying with policies, bringing it all the way through workflow, and so on. So, when we have a competency written, I really, really want to emphasize that it needs to be worded in a way of consistently demonstrated behavior. So, demonstrated behavior, super, super important. This means that just because somebody goes to a training class does not equate to competency. It also means that we look at their behavior in a variety of different situations and they have to demonstrate, not just in their head think about, but demonstrate that they are capable of doing something. So there's a bunch of functions that competencies serve, and I want to talk through that because I know they're difficult to develop and maintain, but if we understand the value that they add, maybe you can come up with some sort of compromise. So the first thing is when competencies are published within your organization, you've got that future vision and that target that your team members and employees can go for. So there's no guessing for them about whether they're competent or not. They also can assume, especially if you're a junior in career, you might assume that you're good at something, but you might have blind spots. So let's talk through a minute how a competency would look within a manager coaching session. The first step might be that you call out a competency and you ask the individual that you're coaching to do a self-assessment. A super important step, because it's important for a manager to understand an individual's self-concept against their perception, and perhaps the manager has gotten input from others. And so we need to figure out, whether those two perceptions are lining up or whether we've got gaps. And there's a lot more I could talk about on that, but I won't in this video. The second thing is it facilitates a discussion between the manager and the team member, and it gives the manager some words to use, which is oftentimes within manager coaching skill development, one of the things that we see that creates hesitancy or resistance to change. And so having those words facilitates the manager saying something along the lines of, well, the vendor management competency says that you have efficiently and effectively navigated vendor onboarding, all the way through our workflow process, working with internal partners. That's just a for instance. And an individual may look at it and say, yeah, I did a great job at that. And then the manager might come back and say, but I gathered input from our legal department and I noticed myself and the emails that I was copied on, in X instance, you were slow to respond, or this happened, and so on. And so when we focused on the behavior that was demonstrated, and we say that in order to be competent, you have to demonstrate it in a number of different scenarios and situations, it opens the door for there to be some constructive discussion and for hopefully the manager and the team member to come to a collective viewpoint about where the development opportunity still exists. So then the third step is that you can really pinpoint what the remaining gaps are and then identify ways to bridge those gaps to get the individual to full competency. And again, because it needs to be demonstrated behavior, it may be that it's getting them coaching or shadowing with somebody else. Maybe they, in the example I gave, they need to go back and spend time with legal. It doesn't always have to be a training class. In fact, it shouldn't always be a training class. So that is just a walkthrough of where I think competencies are very valuable and really facilitate your managers getting over that hump and that hesitancy or resistance to change that we see in manager coaching skills. Hope that helps.